Have you ever thought that the very person you raised with your own hands, the one you sacrificed everything for, could one day stand against you and embarrass you in front of everyone? I always believed that children, no matter how much they grow, would carry respect and gratitude for their parents. But life has a way of testing our beliefs, and mine was shattered the day my own daughter humiliated me, simply because I refused to pay her bills. This is my story. And I never imagined I would be the one telling it. My name is David Miller. I am 53 years old, and if you had asked me a few years ago what my proudest achievement in life was, I would have said raising my daughter Lily. I raised her alone after my wife passed away when Lily was just 10. It wasn't easy, but I thought I did everything right. I worked long hours as an accountant, skipped vacations, and poured every dollar I had into giving her the life she deserved. Ballet classes, the newest phone, a car for college, whatever she wanted, I made it happen. I told myself she needed love and support, and if I had to sacrifice everything, it was worth it. I thought I was building her future. What I didn't realize was that I was also teaching her something dangerous, that no matter what she wanted, I would always say yes. When Lily was younger, it felt worth it. She was bright, energetic, and full of dreams. But as she grew older, things started to change. She began wanting more, things that went beyond simple needs. Designer clothes, expensive dinners, constant online shopping. She only worked part-time at a cafe, but her lifestyle was far more expensive than her income could support. And every time she ran short, she came to me. Dad, I just need help this once. Dad, I'll pay you back soon. But the truth was she never paid me back, and deep down I knew she never planned to. I still gave in every single time, convincing myself it was just a phase, that she would eventually mature and learn responsibility. But instead of getting better, it only got worse. Last year things took a turn for me. My company downsized and my paycheck was cut by nearly a third. Suddenly, I wasn't the stable provider I used to be. Bills piled up faster than I could pay them, and for the first time in a long time, I had to cut back. No more unnecessary shopping, no dinners out, no luxuries. I told myself I could manage if I just stayed disciplined. But Lily? She didn't slow down. If anything, she leaned on me more. She still shopped, she still dined out with her friends, and every month she dropped another bill on my desk, expecting me to cover it like always. The breaking point came one night when she showed up at my apartment. She sat down on the couch, pulled out a folded paper, and dropped it on the table in front of me. I unfolded it and my heart sank. It was her credit card statement, over $2,400. I stared at the number, my hands shaking. I thought about my own bills waiting at home, the electricity, the water, the insurance that was overdue. My account was already stretched thin, and this was the moment I knew I couldn't keep doing it. For the first time in my life, I looked at my daughter and said a word she never expected to hear from me. I said, "No." At first she laughed like I was joking. "What do you mean no?" she asked, her voice sharp. I swallowed hard and tried to explain. "Sweetheart, I can't afford this. Things are tight right now. I have my own bills to pay. I can't keep bailing you out every month." Her face twisted, and I could see the anger boiling up inside her. "Are you serious, Dad? After everything I've been through? You're just going to leave me hanging like this?" I tried to stay calm, but inside I felt torn apart. "Lily, you're 23 now. You have to start being responsible with your money. I can't always rescue you. You need to learn how to stand on your own." But she didn't want to hear any of it. She stood up, grabbed her bag, and stormed out of my apartment, slamming the door so hard the frame rattled. That night I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the empty chair across from me where she had just been sitting. I told myself it was for her own good, that sometimes saying no is the most loving thing a parent can do. I thought maybe she just needed some time to cool down. Maybe she would realize I wasn't abandoning her, I was trying to help her grow. But I was wrong. I had no idea what she was planning. The following weekend, we were invited to a family dinner at my sister's house. It was supposed to be a warm, happy evening. Everyone was there, my brother, my nieces and nephews, old friends from the neighborhood. People I had known for decades, people who respected me as a hard-working man and a devoted father. I walked in, greeted everyone, and sat at the table. I thought the tension with Lily would stay between us, that she wouldn't make a scene. But halfway through dinner, as everyone was laughing and eating, Lily stood up. She put her glass down hard on the table and looked around the room. The smile on her face wasn't one of joy, it was sharp, bitter, and full of resentment. "Do you all know what kind of father I have?" she said loudly, her voice cutting through the chatter like a knife. The room went silent. Forks stopped clinking, conversations froze, and every pair of eyes turned toward her. I felt my stomach drop. "This man," she continued, pointing at me, refuses to help his own daughter. He lets me drown in debt while he sits here pretending to be the perfect dad. My heart pounded in my chest as whispers started around the table. People who had admired me for years were now staring, confused and shocked. I wanted to speak, to explain, but my throat was dry. I had never felt so exposed, so betrayed. My own daughter had chosen to humiliate me, not in private but in front of everyone I loved. And that moment, sitting at that dinner table with all eyes on me, I realized this was only the beginning of a storm I never saw coming. The silence that followed Lily's words at the dinner table felt like a heavy storm cloud pressing down on my chest. My fork slipped from my hand, clattering loudly against the plate, but nobody moved to pick it up. My sister stared at me with wide eyes, my brother frowned in confusion, and the children at the table looked around nervously, sensing the tension but not fully understanding it. I tried to speak, to say something, anything that would make sense of the situation. But my throat felt like it had closed up. My own daughter stood there, staring at me with eyes full of anger, daring me to contradict her in front of everyone. Finally, I managed to say, "Lily, please, this isn't the place." But she cut me off, her voice rising louder. "No, Dad. This is the place. Everyone always thinks you're this amazing father who gives everything for his daughter. But that's not true, is it? You sit here with your nice clothes, eating a full meal while I'm drowning in debt. Do they even know that you refused to help me pay my bills last week? Do they know that their so-called perfect uncle let his only daughter suffer?" A murmur rippled around the table. My brother leaned forward. "David, is this true?" I felt my face burn with shame, though I knew I had done nothing wrong. "It's not like that," I tried to explain, my voice trembling. "I've helped her for years. But I've been struggling myself. I simply couldn't cover another huge bill." "She's lying." Lily snapped, cutting me off again. "He doesn't care. All he cares about is himself. Mom would have never treated me this way." Her words cut deeper than a knife. To bring her late mother into this, to use her memory against me in front of everyone, I felt my heart shatter. I glanced at my sister, hoping she would step in, but she only looked down at her plate, avoiding my eyes. Nobody came to my defense. I wanted to shout, to remind everyone how many years I sacrificed, how many sleepless nights I worked so Lily could have a better life. But I couldn't. The humiliation was too heavy. So I sat there in silence while my daughter painted me as a selfish, uncaring father in front of the people I loved most. When the dinner finally ended, I left without saying goodbye. I walked home in the cold night air, each step heavier than the last. My mind replayed her words over and over again. Mom would have never treated me this way. That sentence echoed in my head like a curse. At home, I collapsed into my chair and stared at the dark ceiling. All I had ever done was try to give her the life she wanted. And now she hated me for not being able to give more. For the next few days, things only got worse. Lily stopped answering my calls. Instead, I began hearing from other people, friends, neighbors, even co-workers, that she had been talking about me. She told everyone how I abandoned her, how I was a stingy man who refused to support his own child. Every time I heard it, the pit in my stomach grew deeper. My reputation, something I had built with years of honesty and hard work, was being torn apart by the very person I loved most. One night, after 3 days of silence, she finally showed up at my apartment again. She didn't knock gently like before. She banged on the door until I opened it. When I did, she pushed past me, storming into the living room. "Why are you ignoring me?" she shouted. I tried to stay calm. "Lily, I'm not ignoring you. You're the one who hasn't answered my calls." "Oh, please," she scoffed. "You embarrassed me first by refusing to help, and now you're acting like the victim? You don't care what happens to me, do you? You don't care if I lose everything." Her words stung, but I stood my ground. "Lily, listen to me. I've given you everything I could for years. I paid your rent, your car, your classes, even your shopping sprees. But I can't anymore. I'm struggling too. I have bills, I have responsibilities, and I'm not getting any younger. I need you to understand." But before I could finish, she grabbed the glass of water sitting on the coffee table and threw it against the wall. It shattered, water dripping down the wallpaper. "You're pathetic," she screamed. "You think you're some kind of hero because you did your job as a dad? Newsflash, being a parent doesn't end when your kid turns 23. You me." That word, "oh," hit me like a thunderbolt. I didn't owe her anything. I had already given her everything I had and more. But in her mind, she was still entitled to everything I could provide. I took a deep breath and said the hardest words I had ever spoken to her. "Lily, I love you. But if you keep treating me like this, I can't have you in my life. I won't let you destroy me just because you refuse to grow up." Her eyes widened as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Then she laughed bitterly. Wow, so that's it? You're just cutting me off? Fine, Dad. If that's what you want, then don't expect to see me again. And with that, she stormed out of my apartment once more, slamming the door behind her. This time I didn't chase after her. I just stood there, staring at the broken glass on the floor, realizing my daughter wasn't the little girl I once raised. She had become someone I didn't even recognize. The days turned into weeks and the silence between us grew heavier. She didn't call, she didn't visit, and part of me thought maybe she was finally learning her lesson. But deep down I knew it wasn't over. I knew Lily and I knew she wasn't done punishing me. Because when people feel entitled to something, and suddenly that entitlement is taken away, they don't just let go. They fight. They lash out. And that's exactly what she was about to do. The weeks that followed were some of the loneliest of my life. My apartment felt emptier than ever, even though nothing had changed in it physically. The silence was crushing. I would wake up and look at my phone, half expecting a message from Lily, but nothing came. No calls, no texts, not even a missed notification. I told myself that maybe the distance was good, that she needed time to reflect, but deep down the ache in my chest grew heavier each day. Then one morning I opened my email and froze. It was a message from my landlord. Apparently, Lily had fallen behind on her rent, and instead of reaching out to me directly, she had given my name and email as a backup guarantor. My stomach sank as I scrolled through the details. She was almost 2 months behind, and the landlord was threatening eviction unless immediate payment was made. I sat there staring at the screen, torn apart inside. Part of me wanted to rush to her side, to save her like I always had. But another part of me whispered, if you rescue her again, nothing will change. She'll never learn. My hands trembled over the keyboard as I typed a reply. I told the landlord I was not responsible for her rent, and that he needed to speak directly with Lily. Then I hit send, my heart pounding in my chest. That evening my phone finally rang. It was her. For a moment I felt relief, thinking she was calling to apologize. But as soon as I picked up, her voice exploded through the speaker. How could you do this to me? She screamed. They're threatening to throw me out and you just told them to deal with me? You're unbelievable, Dad. I closed my eyes, holding the phone tightly. Lily, you're the one who signed the lease. You're responsible for your own rent. I can't keep covering for you. You have to handle this. You're heartless, she shouted. Do you even understand what this means? I'll lose everything. Everyone will know it's because of you. Her words felt like knives, but this time I didn't let them sink as deep. I spoke firmly. Lily, I love you, but I won't let you manipulate me anymore. If you want a future, you need to take control of your life. This is not my responsibility. There was a pause on the other end of the line, then a chilling laugh. Fine, Dad. If you won't help me, then I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of father you really are. And with that she hung up. True to her word, the next days were a nightmare. Posts began appearing on social media. Long paragraphs where Lily painted me as a cruel, selfish father who abandoned his daughter in her time of need. Friends and extended family began calling, asking if it was true. Some defended me, but others didn't. I could feel my reputation crumbling. I would walk into work and colleagues would whisper behind my back. Neighbors avoided eye contact. I had become the villain in my own daughter's story. And the worst part was, no matter how much I wanted to scream the truth, I stayed quiet. I refused to publicly humiliate her the way she humiliated me. Then one cold Friday evening there was a knock on my door. When I opened it, Lily stood there. But she didn't look angry this time. She looked broken. Her hair was messy, her eyes red from crying, and her shoulders slumped as if she was carrying the weight of the world. For the first time in months, she didn't look like the arrogant young woman demanding money. She looked like the little girl I had raised, lost and scared. Dad, she whispered, her voice trembling. They evicted me. I have nowhere else to go. My heart clenched. Part of me wanted to pull her into my arms immediately, to promise her everything would be okay. But another part of me remembered all the time she had used my love as a weapon, all the time she humiliated me to get what she wanted. I stepped aside and let her in, but I didn't say a word. She sat on the couch, staring at the floor, her hands shaking. I thought I could handle it, she said softly. I thought my friends would help, but nobody did. They all disappeared. And now, I have nothing. Tears rolled down her cheeks, and for the first time she didn't try to hide them. I sat across from her, my voice calm but firm. Lily, I've always wanted to protect you. I gave you everything I had, and I never asked for anything in return. But when I couldn't give any more, you turned against me. Do you realize what you did to me? The things you said? The lies you spread? She covered her face with her hands, sobbing. I know, Dad. I was angry, I was scared. I didn't know what else to do. I thought if I made you feel guilty, you'd help me again. I didn't think about how much it would hurt you. For a long moment, the room was silent except for her quiet crying. I took a deep breath. Lily, I will always love you. But love doesn't mean I can let you destroy yourself, or me. If you want to stay here, it won't be the same as before. I won't pay your bills, I won't cover your debts. If you live under this roof, you'll contribute, you'll work, and you'll take responsibility for your life. Do you understand? She looked up at me, her eyes wide with fear but also with something else, acceptance. She nodded slowly. I understand. I don't want to lose you, Dad. I'll do better. I promise. That night, she stayed in the guest room, and for the first time in months, I slept without the crushing weight of guilt. It wasn't a perfect ending, not a fairy tale reconciliation, but it was a beginning. In the weeks that followed, Lily got a full-time job. It wasn't glamorous and it wasn't easy, but she worked. She paid her own bills, and little by little, she began to repair the damage between us. It wasn't immediate, and there were still moments of tension, but there was also progress. And as for me, I learned something too. Being a parent doesn't mean giving endlessly until there's nothing left. Sometimes the greatest act of love is saying no. Sometimes, love means letting them fall so they can learn how to stand. So when people ask me now if I regret refusing to pay her bills, I tell them no. Because that no was the moment everything changed. It was the hardest word I ever spoke, but also the most important. And though my daughter humiliated me, though she broke my heart, that pain became the turning point that saved both of us.